FCS parents, hopefully you guys have had a great week. I apologize for not having a video for a couple of weeks. Last Thursday, I was actually in San Jose with our middle school and high school students. We went on a field trip down there to the Tech Interactive Museum, which was great. A lot of good stuff there. And then we did actually make a video for you on Friday, but by the time we went to put it out, some information had changed, and then as more time went along, more information changed. So it just delayed putting out a video. So finally today, we're putting out a regular Thursday Thoughts, although it's been a couple weeks since I put one out, but I do have lots of information to give you today. First of all, one thing I want to remind you is that tomorrow is our FCS talent show. It'll be on the Dover campus at 10:15 a.m. All students, elementary, middle school, and high school students will all be on the elementary campus, on the Dover campus, tomorrow, March 6th. They'll be there for the normal school time, 8:20 to noon. We'll have chapel first thing in the morning. Kids will be able to go to class after that for a little bit, and then we'll all gather again at 10:15 for the talent show. It'll be a great time as kids show off their skills and talents and abilities for everyone at the school, and hopefully for God as well. So have a great time. Remember, again, all students on the Dover campus tomorrow starting at 8:20 a.m. There's something really serious I want to talk to you about a little bit. I know there have been a lot of questions from a lot of parents about coronavirus, and I have some answers for you. Information has been changing quite a bit from day to day, and now that it's been a topic for a couple weeks, information has changed quite a bit. We've learned a lot more about coronavirus, and one thing I want to point out right from the beginning is that God does not call us to have a spirit of fear. And I, as individually, I don't want to have a spirit of fear, and as a leader, the leader of Fairfield Christian School, I'm not going to lead the school in a spirit of fear. Now, obviously, we need to be prudent. We need to be careful in terms of the things we're doing. But fear does nothing but diminish our faith and power in God. So we're going to do everything we can do to limit the spread of the virus, to make sure that people at the school aren't contracting any sickness besides coronavirus, whether it's the flu or the cold or anything like that. We're going to do everything that we can, but after that, we have to lay everything else at the feet of God, because God is in control always. In fact, even if I contract coronavirus, God is still in control. And you know what? Even if I were to die from coronavirus, God, heaven forbid, but even then, God is still in control. And we know that God works all things together for good for those who love Him or are called according to His purpose. So I'm not going to fear anything that's taking place. Again, I'm going to do what I need to do. The school's going to do what we need to do, but I'm not going to live in fear. In fact, it's just like the enemy to put something like coronavirus out there, because this is separating people. It's keeping people from interacting with other people. And that's exactly what he wants to do. Even though we're using technology right now, and I know a lot of churches and a lot of organizations use technology to spread the message of the gospel and things like that, the number one way that people get to have a relationship with Jesus Christ is through one person introducing another person personally to Jesus Christ. It's still the number one way that thing happens. So while technology is great and the world is smaller than it used to be, the gospel, the number one way it's spread is from person to person. And so when things like this happen, when people fear getting around other people, it limits the spread of the gospel. And we never want that to happen. So again, I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to go out and have other people cough or sneeze on me. I'm not going to do all the things that I shouldn't be doing. I'm going to make sure I wash my hands regularly, and we'll go over some of those things in just a minute. But I'm not going to live in fear at all. And there's a lot of fear. If you watch too much television, you will grow a spirit of fear. I've worked in the television industry. I know how the news cycle works. They want to keep people watching the news, so they keep on upping the ante. They keep on making things more serious and more serious and more serious, because they want to make sure people continue to watch the news so that they can continue to get those advertising dollars. And so they're going to escalate things as much as possible, make things sound worse than it is. Some of the decision making that I've seen already in the news is also creating a spirit of fear. We're not going to live in a spirit of fear. All right. Again, we'll be very prudent. In fact, in the classrooms, teachers have been directed to clean the desks, chairs, all the items that the students handle on a regular basis. They should be cleaning those daily so that we can limit the spread of any sickness, not just coronavirus, but the flu or the cold or anything else that might be going around. We want to limit that sickness. So as a school, we want to make sure we keep things clean, and we're doing our part to do that. On the other side of things, you as parents, there are a lot of things that you guys could do. First of all, kids need to know that when they cough or sneeze, they need to do that into their elbow. Cough or sneeze into the elbow. That's the best thing they can do. If they cover with their mouth, with their hands, that's better than nothing. But obviously, the elbow is the preferred way to do that. And I'm going to make a very strong statement here. It's going to sound like I'm being very critical, and if I'm being honest, I am. But parents, you have to not just teach your kids this, you have to model this to your kids. That is a basic thing that kids need to know how to do. It's a common courtesy. It's respect for other people. Cover your mouth and nose. I can tell you there are a lot of kids at school that are not covering their mouths and nose. They're simply that is not the way to go about things. We need to make sure we're limiting the spread of germs, limiting the spread of viruses. Kids have to cover their mouth and their nose. Kids also need to know how to wash their hands. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a kid coming out of the bathroom and I'll ask them, "Have you washed your hands?" And they won't say anything for a second. And then they'll say, "No." Get back in there, wash your hands. And washing your hands, the way most kids wash their hands, they turn on the water, get a little soap, 2 seconds, and they're done. 20 seconds is what the CDC is recommending. 20 seconds with soap and water, scrubbing and washing your hands. 20 seconds. Kids need to know what 20 seconds feels like. We'll be reviewing that in chapel tomorrow. What 20 seconds feels like, scrubbing and washing your hands. When that's not available, using some sort of hand sanitizer is usable. You can do that as well. That hand sanitizer has to be 60% alcohol. That's what the CDC recommends. So you got to make sure that your hand sanitizer is good. Again, that can be used just as effectively in order to clean the hands. Parents, if your child is sick, they need to stay home. If you even think they are sick, they need to stay home. Do not run the risk of sending your child to school and spreading sickness or disease, especially in the environment that we are in right now. In fact, they have to be symptom-free without medication to return to school. If their fever breaks, but it's because you've been giving them medication, that doesn't count. They have to be fever-free for 24 hours without medication before they can come back to school. I realize that puts a hamper on work and things like that, but we need to make sure we're keeping the spread of disease down. So we need to limit that. So parents, please keep your kids home. We will be sending home kids more frequently because of the environment that we're in right now, especially with coronavirus. If we think a student is sick, we're sending them home. We're not going to make it a question. We're sending them home. We need to limit that, because if we don't do that and things continue to get worse, it'll get to the point where we're closing schools. Now, it's not to that point, and I don't foresee us doing that. However, if the CDC recommends it, if the state agencies and federal agencies are recommending it, then that could be something that happens down the road. Again, I don't foresee that happening. Again, I don't want to live in a spirit of fear, but if that's the best thing to do to limit the spread of sickness and disease, then we may have to close the school for a short period of time until this whole thing dies down a little bit. I will tell you today, certain schools in Seattle did close for a period of time. Now, again, I think they're kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but again, if that's a recommendation that we get from the CDC and other government agencies, then that is something down the road that could possibly happen. I am keeping up to date on all the recommendations CDC is making, and we're trying to follow all those recommendations. But again, we're not going to live in a spirit of fear. A couple other things about coronavirus that you're not going to hear on the news very often. One important thing is that it seems, from various reports I've read, children are not as susceptible to coronavirus as adults are. You look more and more reports, not that they can't get it, but in terms of when you're looking at percentages, a higher percentage of adults get it than kids do. And there's some reports coming out of China, obviously where this disease originated, that it's not nearly as severe in children as it is in adults. In addition, you've probably heard of some deaths. In every case that I have seen so far, every death related to coronavirus, that individual had underlying health conditions, suppressed immune system and other things going on. That coronavirus just kind of put them over the edge. If you're a relatively healthy person, coronavirus actually clears up in about 2 weeks without medication. So, while we definitely don't want to get it, it can cause respiratory limitations, and it can cause pneumonia and things like that. In a relatively healthy person, coronavirus on its own clears up after a few weeks. We certainly don't want to contract it, but at the same time, we don't want to make this into a bigger thing than what it really is. So again, parents, keep your kids at home if they're sick of any kind. If you even think they're sick, keep them at home. All right. In the weekly email this week, I'm sending home a couple of, in that email, some PDFs from the CDC about recommendations, what to do if you're sick, certain precautionary things that you can do at home to make sure you limit the spread of disease. So make sure you check those out in our weekly email that'll come out on Sunday. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. Again, we're making sure we're staying up to date on everything going on. And as things change, obviously we'll make more decisions in terms of how we're going to help limit the spread of sickness in general, but specifically with coronavirus as well. All right, let's end on a happy note. Let's end on a good note. As many of you know, at the beginning of the school year, we had some situations that changed kind of rapidly right before the school year started. And so some of the things that we were able to offer previously, we haven't offered as much this year, specifically talking about music. However, starting next week, which is the beginning of the fourth quarter, next week's the beginning of the fourth quarter. Can you believe it? We're 3/4 of the way through the school year, only 1 quarter remaining. But starting next week, we're actually going to have a new staff member on staff. Mr. Tom Reyes will be joining us, and Mr. Reyes will be teaching music to the elementary campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we're really excited about that. Tom has a lot of great experience with music. He's a fantastic musician and a great teacher, and he loves Jesus. So we can't wait to have Tom come in here and teach music to the kids. I think it's going to be great, especially over this last quarter of the school year. And then it'll just put a nice bow on the end of the school year in terms of what we'll be able to do. And in addition, it gives some of our classroom teachers a little more prep time during the week as well, a little bit more of a break, which is always beneficial, especially during this last quarter. This last quarter is incredibly busy for us as a school, because not only are we wrapping up this school year, but we're already, as I've told you many times before, doing a lot of planning and preparation for next school year as well. Plus, it's enrollment time for us. So besides you parents that are already part of the school re-enrolling, we've got new parents coming in and interviewing. They're checking out classrooms, they're talking to teachers, they're trying to decide if they want to join us for next year. And I've done a lot of interviews. I did 2 different parent interviews today for new parents wanting to join the school. I've done several all week. I've got more scheduled for next week as well. So we're excited about enrollment for next year. But again, this last quarter of the school year does make for a very busy time. But it's all good stuff. We enjoy the stuff we're doing. We love adding more opportunities like music for our students. We love having more families join us here at Fairfield Christian School, and we love seeing what God is doing in the lives of these students every single day. All right, that's a lot of information, but hopefully you guys can soak that in. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us here at the school. Make sure you check out the email on Sunday, as that comes out every Sunday, our weekly newsletter. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, Friday, March 6th, on campus at the Dover campus for our talent show. It starts at 10:15. If your kid is performing, you definitely want to be there to see them. But even not, maybe you want to be there and see what some of the other kids are performing, some of the other talents that some of those kids have. We've got some fantastic stuff. We've got a few bizarre things that some of the kids are doing, but it's all good and it's all going to be fun. It's going to be highly entertaining. Can't wait to see it tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow as well. Talk to you real soon. God bless.